What's up guys, Blue Flame here. Since it's the weekend, I wanted to get a Pokemon video out for y'all. For a person that loves Pokemon, I love starter Pokemon. I think a lot of starters have a great design like Greninja, Cinderace, Rillaboom, Typhlosion, Sceptile, Infernape, and more. But I've always thought that Pokemon starters' final evolutions should be dual type. For those who don't know what a dual type is, dual types are Pokemon that have more than one type. So if you have a Pokemon that is water type and then you add the fighting type to it, then you get a water fighting type. So the result is this video, giving every Pokemon starter that doesn't already have a second type a second type. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. The first starter that doesn't already have a second type is Blastoise. Honestly, this is still the worst starter type decision ever. This was the first generation of Pokemon. Why did they not make Blastoise dual type? It would have been a great way to show off the dual types in the region, but they just didn't do it. That's so dumb. Gen 1ers, if you're watching this, y'all have awful taste. In my opinion, Blastoise has two second types that make sense. The first type could be water rock type. I chose rock type because the shell on Blastoise's back looks like it's made of rock. To me, if a Pokemon has rocks on it, then it should probably be rock type. Now I know y'all are probably screaming at the screen telling me that Blastoise shouldn't be rock type, and that's why I have a second type. The second type that makes more sense for Blastoise in my opinion is the Steel type. This is pretty obvious why I chose this. Blastoise has cannons. Also, in Let's Go Pikachu and I think Sword and Shield, when Wartortle evolves into Blastoise, it learns Flash Cannon, which is a steel move. The only problem is that, well, Blastoise was introduced in Gen 1, but Steel type wasn't introduced till Gen 2. Now, we can get by this by saying that it was water rock type in Gen 1, and then it gains the Steel typing and loses the rock typing in Gen 2. Next one! Now we are moving on to Gen 2. Our first starter is Meganium. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there is only one type that fits Meganium, and that type is the Fairy type. You know, the best type in the freaking game. I'm sorry to the people who like Meganium, I'm not one of those people. It has a really bad design compared to Bayleaf, and it just looks dumb. Anyways, I think the Fairy type is the only type that makes sense. But guess what? Fairy type wasn't introduced until Generation 6. The only reason that Meganium would have the Fairy type was when Gen 6 came out, and that was when they were given the Fairy type to other Pokemon. So I guess Meganium would have had to wait 5 generations just to get a second type. Now on to the best Johto starter, Typhlosion. But not in Hisuian form though. It sucks. Anyway, Typhlosion has two different types that I think could work with its fire type. The first one being the fighting type. Now I know, we are tired of the fire fighting type starters, but it looks like a fire fighting type. Way more than Emboar does, my god. It looks combat ready and can learn quite a bit of fighting moves. But you know what would be even cooler? It would be even cooler if we gave it the Fire Dart type. Not only is that epic, but it would also be able to promote the new typing. If people chose Typhlosion as their Pokemon starter in Gen 2, then they could have a Dark type starter, and I think it would work. I mean, just look at it. It looks like a Dark type. Also, it can learn Crunch, which I think is the most used Dark move ever. Honestly, Typhlosion should have been Fire Dark type from the start. It's awesome. Alright, next is Feraligatr, which is probably going to be one of the hardest ones on the entire video. Because the only type that would make sense is Water Dark. But of course we can't do that because we already made Typhlosion Fire Dark type. So making both Feraligatr and Typhlosion The dark typing would be super dumb and also unbalanced. So, what do we do? What other types can we give for Alligator? Well, we could give it the water fighting type because it looks pretty combat ready. Water steel type because of the spikes on its back, and water dragon type because it looks like a dragon. Of the three, water dragon is immediately out due to how broken that type combo is. That leaves us with water fighting and water steel. Of the two, water steel makes the most sense to me. If I go with water fighting, then Typhlosion would be so much worse in the trilogy of Johto starter. That is because both Fairy and Fighting are super effective against Dark type, so Typhlosion would be so much worse. But if we give for Alligator the Steel type, then it would be more balanced and make more sense. Alright, time for everyone's favorite lizard, Sceptile. But this is another one where the decision is not easy at all. Sceptile has two different types that make sense. The first one that makes sense is Grass Dragon. Of course, we are not giving Sceptile this type. The reason why is because this could literally ruin the coolest starter trio in all of Pokemon history, because of how unbalanced it would be. If we give Sceptile the dragon typing, then it would be unbalanced because he would no longer be weak to fire, and the main reason Sceptile is a grass type so he can be weak to fire but strong against water. Now I know that Mega Sceptile is grass dragon type, but it's a mega evolution. They're supposed to be broken. So we are not choosing this type combo, so what other ones can we have? And I got an idea for this. That type combo is grass poison typing. Now before you come at me with your pitchforks and saying how we have too many grass poison types, guys, it was legit the only other type that I could give it aside from grass dragon, so please spare me. Plus, Sceptile can actually learn a pretty good amount of poison moves like cross poison, so I think poison type works. Now we are skipping ahead to the Unova region, because all the Sinnoh starters are dual types, so, good job, Sinnoh. And now we finally get an easy decision. Superior is clearly meant to be a grass poison type. Grass poison fits way more with Superior than it does with Sceptile. For one, Superior is a snake, so it could be poisonous, and two, it just looks poisonous. It looks super vicious and mean. I think Superior should have been grass poison from the start. Now on to the best Unova starter, Samurott. And this is another easy choice. Water fighting is the clear choice. First of all, the design looks super combat ready. I mean, it's got swords. It looks like a fighting type. Also, it can learn a pretty good amount of fighting moves like Sacred Sword, Detect, and Brick Break. Now, I know that Emboar is already a fighting type, but Emboar looks more like a dark type, and this is never gonna happen, so deal with it. Now we are moving on to the Galar region, which is the last region on our list. So we have Rillaboom as our first of the last. And for me at least, Rillaboom should have the fighting type. Wow, there have been a lot of fighting types in this video. Now I could have given it the dark type, but Grass Dark is really bad defensively, and Rillaboom has always been a defensive Pokemon. Also, Rillaboom looks really buff, and grass fighting is a cool typing. Ah yes, my first Pokemon and my second favorite Pokemon ever. Cinderace will always hold a special place in my heart, since it was the Pokemon that I got first. And that's why I'm gonna love to talk about it. Well, it's actually gonna be kind of difficult to find, because the best type for Cinderace is 100% the fighting type. But of course we can't do that because Rillaboom already has the fighting type. But this is going to be hard because, for one, Cinderace looks like a fighting type, it can learn several different fighting moves, and the main thing about Cinderace is that it kicks. So what other type can we give Cinderace? Well, I think I got it. The second best type for Cinderace is 100% the flying type. First of all, its ears look like it could easily flap it and Cinderace could fly around. And 2, Cinderace can learn strong moves like bounce and acrobatics. Also, his personality in the anime was very flighty. And last but not least, we have Inteleon. Now, I have a good type for him. In my opinion, the dark type fits him. First, Inteleon looks pretty dark-like. Just look at his eyes, they're pretty evil. Second, he can learn Dark Pulse, which is the best special dark move. And third, he literally has guns. Honestly, they should have just given the Galar starter second types. So that was giving every starter Pokemon that doesn't have a secondary type a secondary type. Which ones do you agree with? And which ones do you not agree with? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. Now make sure you stay cool, calm, and collected, and peace out. So by the time of recording this video, I realized that this is not gonna come out until probably Monday, so just so y'all know that I recorded these parts before the week. So, yeah.